for those that don't know, you also had a company where it was the #1 fastest growing private company in San Jose, California, a few years back. And then you decide to create attn.live, which is this kind of live podcasting platform. But I'm curious, what made you interested in kind of this live thing? Because I got excited about, voice because of podcasting. And a lot of times people were like, well, they don't really correlate. And here you are kind of bringing these two together. So I'm curious where this concept for you came from.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I look forward to answering that. For those that are tuned in, thank you for your attention. Your time is super valuable. And to tune into a live event like this is asking a lot. If video is too demanding for you, you can always listen to this broadcast as well. Keri's live streaming this to Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, I believe LinkedIn, and then we're live streaming the audio to YouTube and the Lexi devices. You asked about how did I get into live podcasting. I've had other previous tech companies. The creation of Attention Live is for the sole purpose of me as a human and me as a businessman having the tool that I need. The reality is that live podcasting does not exist right now. So this is a brand new category that me and my partners and our extended team have been working on creating. This is why it's taken so long. I started this journey November 2017. And so why? Well, pre-production and post-production are incredibly time-consuming and very difficult for the actual content creator, right? So if I'm talent, right? If I'm a content creator, if that's the role I have in media, but then I also have to do all the pre-production planning strategy and then the post-production editing and then distribution, it's just a lot on just a simple guy, right? It's a lot. And so I have to have big media teams with lots of equipment to do this. And it is expensive, time-consuming with lots of hurdles that are faced, which are totally reasonable, but difficult for a bootstrapped entrepreneur that's trying to move quickly. And so I needed something that eliminated pre-production and post-production so that I could easily communicate. As I started to think about these things, I realized how video was going to be a problem moving forward. You see, video, it takes up a lot of space. This may sound crazy, but I've actually recorded over 10 terabytes of video this last year. In the last 12 months, I've recorded over 10 terabytes of video. I got the proof on Google Photos. And what do I do with that content? I basically just capture content. I don't have time for post-production, so it usually just kind of sits on a hard drive. So we started to think about what is it that a content creator needs that allows a content creator to produce content at scale without all the pre and post-production issues. And we realized, gosh, audio is easy. You don't have to worry about how you look. You don't have to use up all the bandwidth to send it up to the cloud. You don't have to store all the content. Like, it just eliminates a lot of headaches. And then how about the consumer, which is the most important person, right? The content creator is just yapping lips and just talking in the air if there's nobody that's going to consume that content. So every content creator, every organization should be completely focused on the person that's actually going to be listening or watching. And so that is why audio was a big thing for us. It's just easy for people to listen to content. It's not demanding a lot. They don't have to look at a screen. They don't have to use up the bandwidth. Everybody's at home, shelter in place, so internet is slower than before. And so we felt like, gosh, a simple solution for broadcasting content by audio. And then, of course, the big thing for us was, can it go everywhere, right? Can I just use my one cell phone? So here's Attention Live. This is the product, right? I've been live on Attention Live for 12 minutes. Okay, so pretty simple. I have a title and description. It automatically changes the date so that way it's already set for me. This says NFT. I may or may not talk about that today, but NFTs is like a house has a deed and a car has a pink slip. Attention Live creates a token to prove that you own your own content. So we think that's really important moving forward. I'm live streaming to Alexa. I might have just turned off YouTube with my finger, whoops. And then we have all these other platforms, voice devices and social media devices. I don't know, I turned YouTube back on. Let's see if that worked. For all those out there on YouTube, if you were listening to me and I disappeared, fat fingers. So how does this actually work? Let me just give a quick demonstration of that. Alexa, open Attention Live.
Welcome to Attention Live. Tell me the name of the channel you'd like to stream.
Utile. Moving forward. I'm live streaming to Alexa. I might have just turned off YouTube with my finger. Whoops. Alexa, stop. That's nice. I got to live that embarrassment twice. Yay. So I'm actually not really embarrassed very often. I don't really care what any of you think, although I'm very grateful for your attention. This is my dad, Keri Utile. He's a legendary surfer and he's my hero. Our product works on every single type of hardware and software. This is a Windows Surface, this is an Apple iPad, and this is a Samsung Tab, I believe. So it doesn't matter if a content creator is an Android user, an iOS user, or a Windows user. It doesn't matter if they prefer a desktop computer, a tablet, or a cell phone. They have the ability to use any device they have. Even that old junk drawer iPad, iPhone, the iPhone 5 work just fine. You can grab that, and now you have the ability to go live from one place everywhere. Doesn't demand a lot of you as a creator, certainly doesn't demand a lot of people as a consumer. So that is what we've created right now. That works, and I'm very thankful for the team that's helped me create this, especially my business partner, our CTO, Landry Woolworth. He's been with me for almost 15 years. He's helped me launch probably a dozen companies in the last 15 years. And then I have another half a dozen people that are part of our team. And altogether, we've worked together 80 years in total. Our team, that's the number of years that these folks worked with me, building companies. And so, you know, I have a big mouth and they have big brains, and we're creating something special.
Yeah, and you know, when we talked about this before, because I've been doing podcasting for a while, I do 3 shows, and I think you're right. I think that there's value as a creator in that it's another place that people can listen to and ask about, but also from another side, you know, you and I were kind of talking, as we call you a futurist, or you call yourself a futurist, is this idea of like, I can ask, you know, my device, eventually my car, my phone, whatever, does so-and-so have a live podcast right now? Or is anyone talking? Like, whatever you want, eventually, I think is the whole goal, right? If there's a celebrity speaking, a podcaster you like, is there something on about this? I think that's something that I find really exciting about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, for us, if you want to listen to Attention Live, you can listen to my channel, Utile, 24 hours a day, right? So we basically have a radio station we're creating for our users. So all of my live podcasts are stacked together. I can eliminate podcasts that I don't like, right? I said something stupid, I said something wrong, the internet wasn't, whatever the reason. Just delete or edit. And then you kind of cultivate this really nice 24/7 cycle of information. This allows people to tune in to somebody they're interested in hearing, and they can just hear their last live podcast and then their next one, where it picks up where they left off. And then I can interrupt, like obviously I just did the demo, and you, Keri, were able to hear what I just said 30 seconds before. So that's considered real time in live streaming, right? Like if we go live through Zoom on YouTube or Facebook like we did yesterday, people in other areas, they're going to see that with a 25 or 35 second delay. So that's pretty normal. It's still kind of considered live in real time, right? And so we're really excited about what we've built. We think it's important. You know, for the last 2 years, I've been talking about we're going to build this product. And it's going to go live on every voice device and every social media site. It's going to tokenize your content, and it's going to automate the process for you to make money. And I mean, I'm building the story, right? I'm telling the story. But then as soon as our product worked last fall, so it's actually worked, you know, for 9 months. Okay, let's rein it in and figure out what we really have our hands on. We started using it, right? We used it at CES, didn't tell anybody. No big PR, no big press release. I didn't tell the media. We used it at the Project Voice, right? I didn't say anything to anybody except for just in passing, right? Very mellow, you know, and it's one step at a time. See, I have an advantage that I've been building tech companies in the Silicon Valley for over 20 years. And so I have experienced the consequence of being of talking about a house of cards as though it's real. In the past, I've experienced the consequence of, you know, people talk about catfishing, you know, when somebody presents something that's not really what it is. And I've experienced the consequence of when CEOs start catfishing their product and start saying it is something. So as soon as we really knew what we had our hands on, we reined all of our communications in, and it was very clear, like today we've developed and created a category called live podcasting. And with our software, from any device, any OS, you can go live on YouTube, which represents the social media sites, and Lexi, which represents the voice devices. Soon we will add all the other, you saw that on my screen, the other ones. We're also going to send the archive to Spotify and iTunes, much like Anchor does. And it's really a special product. And so now it's important that I can communicate the value of what we have right now separately than when I get into my futurist mode and I start vision casting about what we're going to do or what can be created, because we have something very real and very tangible right this moment.
I want to share some comments. Emery says, kudos to Landrew. We have Mark saying, terrific demonstration, simply amazing. Nice demo from Eli. And then also, let's see, we got a lot of comments, which is really nice.
I love all my friends on here.
Yeah.
Look at all these friends that came on to say hello.
Your comments. We're going to do Q&A a little bit later.
And if my friends have questions, write your question. Keri and I will see it, and I'll answer it.
Easy platform for content creation, and you can set up affiliates quick. You want to share it, which is great. Someone had, it uses Zoom, which is fabulous. So I think it's for people that are in podcasting. I will say, now everybody's podcasting, and this is another way to kind of stand out and do something a little different, kind of combine two things as well. And I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk about, the future of voice. Again, you talk about yourself being a futurist. What do you kind of see besides just this live podcasting section about the future of voice as a whole?
Yeah, so let me just make a very clear distinction. We're at the 20-minute time, right? It's 1:20 Eastern, 10:20 Pacific. I'm no longer going to be speaking about the product that is created and built at this moment. That's what I talked about the last 15 minutes. I'm now talking about the future. I want to be very clear with everybody that when I start sharing the future of voice, that people are not thinking that this is what Attention Live is built today. It's either what we intend, desire, and have ambition to build, or that we're looking at our peers in the tech industry and saying this is what they're going to be building. The future of voice is best summed up in the ability to understand and be understood like never before. Okay, so the very first way that we ever communicated as humans is by voice. We heard our mother and our father when we were in the womb. When we came out, we heard our mother's voice. We start hearing thoughts in our head eventually. Which is kind of like a voice, and then eventually we start speaking. And so it's always been easiest to be understood when you use your mouth to communicate. It's why parents tell their kids that start hitting each other, use your words, not your hands, right? We're supposed to use our words. We're supposed to communicate with this amazing, miraculous ability that we have. Understanding also is best by voice. The reality is watching videos are slow, and reading text, not only can it be slow unless you're a speed reader, but in addition to being slow, you also don't actually know the tone of voice. You don't know if they're mad, if they're happy. There's a lot of mixed things. So voice is the key. And here's my belief about the future of voice. I will speak to a voice device. Now today we have Siri and Bixby, Cortana Assistant, and Lexi, and SoundHound, and there's others, right? Your car, right? So you have these things. I'll speak in the future, and it will literally understand me better than any human understands me. It will understand me better than my parents or my children, and I will understand the voice devices eventually better than any human. It doesn't mean it's going to be like the movie Her, where you fall in love with your machine. It's not like that. And the reason why we know that is that, Keri, you and I are not in love with our machines. We just aren't.
We've talked about this before. It is this kind of creepy thought, especially when I saw that movie many years ago.
Yeah, there's
so much value in having your assistants know what you need when you ask for it.
There's no context for that. Let me be really clear with everybody when I talk about the future. There's a lot of amazing media out right now that is telling you the wrong story And if you believe that story that they're telling you, you are going to be part of the problem. And this is my biggest concern as we move forward, is that there are amazing artists, directors and producers. There's amazing artists, actors, actresses, and CGI people that are creating this story, okay? They just released the new show, Upload, on Amazon Prime. And before that, it was Electric Dreams on Prime. And then there's Black Mirror and Altered Carbon, right? Of course, Blade Runner and Terminator and Alita and all these dystopic movies. And my question, media people, all you artists out there, where are Jetsons type movies at? Like, whatever happened to positivity, optimism? Like, in fact, how about just wisdom? Like, just look at history. How does technology usually work out for humans over the course of the last 10,000 years? How'd the tire turn out? How'd planes turn out? How about cars? How about glasses? How about clothes? How about the internet? Smartphones? I mean, how have things turned out for humanity? It sure seems to me like even the most devastating possible invention, somehow, some way, humans were graced, and it turns out for our good. Yet, when it comes to artificial intelligence, voice technology, these types of very future tech things that is maybe even being developed faster than we have control, and then fears arise, and then Skynet, and then Upload, right? Now, I enjoy these shows. I thoroughly enjoy dystopic media because it's escapism and entertaining, but I find it very concerning because it's not casting a vision of the future where in 10 or 25 years, you walk around and you have an idea. Like, this is the future, Keri. You have an idea. Keri's great idea. And then you go, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. Instead of taking 9 months to work on your branding and to build a website and to launch an event, or in my case, 2.5 years for Attention Live, you just say, hey, voice device, which understands your tone of voice perfectly. It knows if you're sad, if you're angry, if you're anxious, if you're in a hurry. In fact, it knows your schedule. It knows the people you just finished talking to. It knows the people that you're going to talk to. It has full, complete context, as long as you give it that, right? You're going to have to give up privacy for speed or give up some sense of, there's an exchange. But you say, hey, I have an idea. You say, voice device, Keri's great idea. I want you to take this photo from my phone. I want you to use that video I saw on YouTube 3 days ago. First paragraph should say, this is Keri's great idea. I'm really pumped about this. You have to engage with me on this great idea. Go and buy me kerisgreatidea.com. Not available. .co is fine. Get all the social media sites, the Twitter, the YouTube. Build all those things out. Same banner, same design. Spin up an Eventbrite page. And then can you invite everybody I've text messaged in the last 18 months that lives within 20 miles of me, invite them to come over. Let's assume we don't have the same social distancing policies 15 years from now, right? When this is at this level, and then you say done. Literally, as fast as you could speak, it understood and did the work. And the sites are built, the social media sites are built, the Eventbrite message went out to all the people within 50 miles of you that you text in the last 18 months, and your event is sold out. You had an idea, and instead of a 9-month, $10,000, $50,000 process, you went from an idea, and 2 minutes and 28 seconds later, your event's sold out. Like, that's the future of voice for marketers. It's not
it saves time.
Yeah.
It's efficient. And I think, like you said, a lot of times creators, entrepreneurs, business people, you're kind of walking and you have these ideas pop into your head, or you have things and you're like, you just want to talk it out loud. And I think, like you said, there's value in voice being able to pick that up and then utilize all the other information it has as well. For people that, you're talking about, some people say doom and gloom, but there's so much positivity here. Where is the positivity from a job standpoint? Because a lot of people feel like, oh my gosh, well, if that's what those things are things I do for a living, what will happen? That's a question people ask all the time. Do you think that there's kind of these new jobs being created? And if so, what does that look like?
Well, nobody really knows, especially in the short term. It's way easier to talk about the jobs 5 and 20 years from now than it is to talk about the jobs 6 and 18 months from now. I can say I believe that the future, there's 3 experiences that we're going to have in our life to basically, that we engage. We're going to either be learning, we're going to be teaching, or we're going to be promoting. And so probably the number one job moving forward in the world is going to be a job of a promoter. That doesn't mean you're a salesperson. Doesn't mean there's a billion different ways to promote. But promoting something will provide value to an organization that wants to influence people. And so if you can get people's attention and influence them on behalf of an organization or a person, you can be compensated for that. The other thing you'd be compensated for in the future is teaching. All right, so let's talk about the voice device. Let's talk about Attention Live in 5 years. Okay, so 5-10 years, and I'm talking about jobs right now. This is relatable to what you said. 5 or 10 years. Let's assume that Elon Musk has put enough satellites in the world, everybody's connected. Let's assume Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg or even Justice Earl from SnapRing can get enough rings on every single person's finger that their ring can connect them to the satellite and it has a microphone and speaker in it. Okay, now you have Musk providing connectivity and you have another entrepreneur providing hardware and software. Now let's say Attention Live's on there, which would be my intention and my goal and desire. Now somebody that cannot read, cannot write, doesn't speak or understand English or any major language. In fact, they might even be blind. So they couldn't read anyways, right? But they have this ring, and this ring opens their world. And so what will they start? They'll start as a learner, right? And so in their own language, I want to know how to use my ring. And then there it is. And even though it was taught in English or German or Spanish or Portuguese, they will hear it in their native tongue. Why? Because voice technology is just the human interface or the human operating system to be able to communicate with machine learning, which we call artificial intelligence, which doesn't really exist yet, maybe ever. And so this machines will be able to translate messages or teaching from developed countries into the same exact content, but in the native tongue of the developing world. Well, once they start as learners, then they can actually learn something through this hardware and this connectivity. And next thing you know, now they have something of value to provide, right? So now all of a sudden you just potentially put the world to work as teachers or as promoters, right? So if the world is going to be learners, teachers, and promoters, then people in developing worlds will probably have to start off as learners, learn some skill. Maybe the skill they learn is how to handle operating calls, right? Customer service. Pretty simple. And so they start by learning. They have their little ring. They talk to the Snap ring, and, through the satellite, through Attention Live software, and they say, I want to make money now. So, okay, well, we have all these customer service calls. They come through, they listen to them, they respond. That has value. I don't know, maybe 3 cents each call, maybe $3 each call. Who knows what micropayments are going to be like in the future? But that's a very real thing, and that's why our ambition is to actually have half the world on our platform. You see, in 10 years, I'd love to have 4 billion people using the Attention Live software. And the reason is that I think our vision is as good as anybody's for helping the developing world. And so when you talk about the future jobs, I think in the developing world, it's a lot more having to do with teaching and promoting. And that's the developed world. And in the developing world, it's going to have a lot more to do with learning and promoting, right? But the one thing that will be shared in common amongst the wealthy areas, right, where you and I get to live, we're so fortunate for that, and the most devastated areas, the one thing that's in common is that people can make money by promoting. It'll always be the case. There's people that will pay money to influence others, and if you can get people's attention and influence them, you will have a way to make a living. And then the difference is that developed worlds will probably be more around teaching, and the developing world will be more around learning, and that'll be a cycle. And of course, there'll be ebbs and flows. But
yeah, and I like that you broke that down: learning, teaching, promoting. And it's so funny when we talk about voice. That's not anything different than when anything else comes new. People had to do that with social media, with other things that came about. They had to learn it, they had to teach it, and they had to promote it. And so I love that you're kind of saying, like, hey, this is a similar pattern. It's just in a different context.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I think, as far as like immediately what's going to happen with jobs, I think people are going to have to figure out ways of creating a new normal. And I don't think that, now I love the monologues of like what we're doing right now. Like you and I are creating a video monologue and an audio monologue, right? Now there's some chat, so it's kind of dialogue-ish, and we're going to bring on Colin and Brian, so it'll change a little bit. But the reality is it's not sustainable to be sitting and doing Zoom calls 10 or 50 hours a week. It's just not. So there has to be a different new normal, and this is not a sustainable model, not from a creator or consumer standpoint. So you have to think through, like, what does work for you, because obviously doing things online is going to be a key, and doing things digitally is going to be a key. But how do you do things to where it's a little bit different? Like, try to find a way to create a new normal, and then try to think, like, what value do you have to bring? Because all of us have greatness that we're capable of. All of us are brilliant. All of us. I mean, I joked around with a friend the other day. I'm like, the reason why it's so hard to be a human is because we have the mind of a god and the body of a beast. And that's this tension that we all are constantly in. We have these very primal existence of bodies, but we have this mind that's kind of unexplainable, and mystical, and we don't fully understand the spirit and the soul and all these different things. But there's clearly something going on with people. And so in that, everybody has to realize, like, you might be have struggles and hardship like all people do, but you also have greatness, which is why I say, the mind of a god, right? Like that thought that you may think like God, right? Even though you may act like an animal. And because of that, now things are changing. So what used to be the patterns are no longer the patterns. And this is a great opportunity. It lets you have a fresh start. There's no